Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have an incredible gameplay for you that I think is very illustrative of a particular point that as to why a certain commander was banned in another format. And I think, I don't know if you've seen me online recently, but you might know who it is. So I am speaking, of course, of the Esper grandfather himself, Oloro Ageless Ascetic. So I am playing a 30 life format. Over the course of this game, I will have effectively started this game with approximately 60 life, give or take. And you will see how backbreaking that is. So you see an opening hand. So I know blue-black, Vernic Catacombs, turn on blue. I'm missing mana for Jace. I might be able to get the Dark Tutelage if I stop at turn 2, untap turn 3. But the real reason I keep this hand is actually Grafdigger's Cage, because my opponent is none other than Kess Dissident Mage. And Grafdigger's Cage completely makes the commander... It completely neuters the commander. Words are difficult tonight. Sorry, it is 5:30 in the morning. Got to finish my shifts a little early today, so got to record this awesome game that I had earlier. So I see a turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage off non-blue land, and then I have a fetch land to try to dig into other things to try to get to this Dark Tutelage. And I feel that if Dark Tutelage resolves, I'm in great shape. And Dark Tutelage over Dark Confidant is one of these examples here. I think I'm playing both of them, but let me confirm. I'm not playing Dark Confidant. But so the reason I run Dark Tutelage is because in these blue, black, red matches, there's basically nothing in their color identity that permanently removes an enchantment. They have Chaos Warp, they have Bounce and Counter on the way back down, they have Psych Rift, but none of them is actual hard removal. And those are the control matches, and the control matches are where Dark Confidant effects shine. This is going to stick on the table much longer than Dark Confidant, whereas because against a red-black deck, you expect it to be chock full of burn removal or creature removal in the form of things like Go for the Throat, Victimize, or not Victimize, Dismember, that's what I'm thinking of. Like those types of effects, or Lightning Bolt, or Electrolyze, those things. So Dark Confidant dies very easily in this matchup, but Dark Tutelage stays down very long. So this is my key to win this game, I feel. Because if I get this on turn 3, like if he taps out for Signet, I'm just going to slam this. Because he can go Kess, I have Dark Tutelage going. It doesn't matter. Especially when I have Cage in play, Kess doesn't matter too much. So this line of like Cage into hoping he tries to do a turn 2 ramp into my turn 3 Tutelage is a great line here. So I keep, my opponent keeps as well, always like a good match. So I'm going to slam turn 1 Cage, and it just insta-resolves against him. He loses no time, he didn't have a misstep. So now I fully anticipate that he doesn't play misstep in his deck either. Because, or like I'm 90% sure he's not playing misstep in his deck because he didn't fake it, typically. Typically when people fake something, like obviously if he had misstep, he would have misstepped Grafdigger's Cage. It's backbreaking against him. But when people fake something, it makes you think that it's actually in their deck at least. So it's worth to play around. Because he didn't take the opportunity to fake it, I'm going to play as if Mental Misstep is not in his 99. And I think that's the correct decision. So he has tap land go. Awesome. And I pick up the land. Perfect. So I'm going to deploy this. I expect this to be getting Underground Sea, and that's the better land. So if he's going to waste me, I'd rather him waste this blue source than the blue source that doesn't deal me damage. Especially because I anticipate damage off Dark Tutelage. And I'm just going to say go, hold up this mana leak. And unfortunately, he's got another tap land. So nothing and nothing else with that 1 mana. So I look at this for a moment and I decide, is it worth running all of this into 1 mana? And I decide the answer is no. If he has a Force Spike effect, if he has, any type of Force Spike effect, Swan Song, losing this Dark Tutelage could like end the game for me because I'll have no way to get card advantage if Jace gets down. Because what he'll do if I put Jace down, I'll get to draw once, but he'll untap play Kess because that'll be 4 and 4, and then I'll have to use Jace to start bouncing Kess and tempo that way. So there's a chance that I maybe can Cryptic cast on the way back down and then start chasing. But this line is so risky because it relies on 2 spells resolving, whereas this relies on 1 spell resolving. So I'm going to play as if Dark Trilogy is my only out, and then Jace is going to be backup. So I play the land first to play around a 4-spike effect because I really need this Signet down. I don't have a 4th mana source at the moment, and I want to make sure that I have Jace or Cryptic available. Sulphurous Springs, pass. God, just play something into my mana leak, man. Never have I wanted my opponent to try to cast something like Necropotent so much. I know it's banned, but Phyrexian Arena. Play Phyrexian Arena. So I get Watergrave. It's risky there. So this Inquisition is a fantastic draw here. So I'm going to IOK him. And this hits Counter Squall. So that's not a 1-mana answer. But this does actually... I think this was a mistap on his part. So I didn't cast anything into his mono blue open, or a single blue open. It's in his best interest to take damage here off the Sulphurous Springs and leave up Necropolis, which is blue, black, red, because it represents way more than just black, red. So I'm of course going to let this go, because now I can slam Dark Tutelage down. And it resolves. Ooh, sticky situation. He has a tap land, so he can't even pressure me with Kess. This is fantastic. So we'll try to keep track how much damage Tutelage does to me over the course of this game. It's a ton that I take. I'm grabbing pad and paper. So I take 4 for my get in there. Leave the revealed open. And I pick up an impulse. So no land. There's attempt to get in here and rely on Signet plus Tutelage to dig me out of it, but I don't feel like he's blown his load yet, and I want to make sure he doesn't have removal. So he goes to Cycle and Electrolyze. Fine with me. That's something that kills Bob that doesn't kill Tutelage. That's why I had it in my head. I knew there was an Electrolyze coming. Doesn't shock. All right. Young Pyromancer. Now this... Now if he had shocked here, Mana Leak is no longer an out. Like, I don't know. This seems so terrible, not shocking the land in. This game's not going to be decided by damage, unless he resolves Young Pyromancer. I'm going to Mana Leak it, and because he didn't shock, Mana Leak's actually a hard counter. And he doesn't have any playback. No, I of course don't have anything, but this lets me Impulse on end of turn. If he had left this up, I would have had to use Cryptic, and then I wouldn't have gotten to get value off my Impulse. So I see Seachrome Coast, Weather Wayfarer, Kaya, and a Blue Damnation. Unfortunately, it doesn't pitch to Force. I think this was red in the game. It's weird. So Kaya is like Jace. It's pressure on the board, but it's risky. Weathered Wayfarer is actually what my take here is. I think Seachrome Coast might be it. It's going to come into play tapped, though. It's slow. I think I take Wayfarer here, because... Putting Wayfarer down, sure I go off counter magic for a sec, but it doesn't look like I go off counter magic. And Wayfarer will just end the game by himself because I will continuously be able to fetch lands out of my deck. Sure enough, I hit land off top, so 0 damage off Tutelage. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Remember, I played this on turn 4. I'm on turn 6 now. So slam a Wayfarer, and I play the Urborg first. All of his lands produce black, so this is absolutely not helping him in any way. All of mine produce black as well, but at least this is a way to turn Underground River into painless. Sure, it does it for him too, but it lets me keep Cryptic up when I try to put Wayfarer down. And I probably would Cryptic to protect Wayfarer. Painful Truths. So I think this is where I decide to pick the fight. One spell to draw 3 is dangerous. It looks like he might have missed a land drop so far, so I think that this is basically what I want to happen. I want a Cryptic, try to draw a card. I want him to spend mana, and either Cryptic resolves or it doesn't, but I want him to spend mana and tap him out. He has Arcane Denial, which is a terrible card in 1v1. So you're trading 1 card for my 1 card. You're drawing 1 card, I'm drawing 2 cards. This is a +1 to your opponent, or a -1 to you. You're ergo 2 for winning yourself. Now this is letting something else resolve, so now you're spending 2 spells to get 2 for 1. So you're down 2. Painful Truths, we've already counted it as 1 spell spent, but you're going up 3. So all of this line puts him at +1, this entire line. But I pulled 2 cards out of his hand for him to go +1. He spent 2 spells to go up 1. And that's fine because Weathered Wayfarer also takes me up +1. It's the whole card advantage theory of if you draw more cards than your opponent over the course of a game, you will typically win the game. Yeah, it's basic swamp. Man. Nil spell bomb. Unfortunate, but if I can get him to blow that early, I might be able to put together like a Crucible line with this Armageddon. There we go. So I will stack everything like this. It really doesn't matter how much. So I think I turn off yield here. So I Wayfarer first because I don't want to spend my draw getting a land. And I think I get, Command Tower. It's an unfetchable land, but it is my all colors. It's plausible I should have gotten like a blue-white land, but Floodstrand fetches for blue-white lands. Maybe the blue-white Pain land, I'm not sure. I would love to draw 2 cards. Disenchant, add our car wastes. Pick it up anyway. And then I hit Factor Fiction. So I've taken 8 damage off of my Dark Tutelage over 3 turns, but I'm still at 30 life. Pick up Search for Azcanta. Actually the perfect draw here, because this will force him to use the Nil Spellbomb and Hose my graveyard. Now I really don't want to flip this pre-Armageddon, because I want to have this in the post-Geddon world. So I decided to get in here. And the reason I do is next turn I will be able to play Search for Azcanta off of this. I have to play a land first, unfortunately. But he's tapped out. It's the one chance I'm going to get to like really go for it. And I decided it's the right decision there. I know I'm going to lose all of these lands when he Nil Spellbombs. That's alright. I still have this fetch if I want to. So Dark Tutelage, I pick up a Thoughtseize. So 1. Alright. Palace Jailer. Alright, that's decent. I don't want to expose the fetch. I want to still have a fetch if he does Nil Spellbomb me. So I go for Search for Azcanta. He might have like a Force Spike or something. I decided, like I can't use Wayfarer. The fetch also allows me next turn to do the Tithe trick with Wayfarer. Fetch Wayfarer in response to the fetch like during his turn if I want to play a land but still be able to use Wayfarer. But with this Thoughtseize in hand, I fully anticipate on Thoughtseizing him next turn also. And now this Search should get him to pop the Nil Spellbomb, hopefully. Sure enough, fetch into Fetid Pools. Alright, is he gonna go for it? He does, on his own turn, nonetheless. I guess he's trying to draw into something, but I don't know if this was correct. Sure. Goodbye, graveyard. And on all that talk about +1, -1, like I'm plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about to go +6. And I stack like this because this lets me peek at what I'm gonna be Dark Tutelaging into my hand. Mystical Teachings. I definitely want that in the graveyard, and I don't want to take 4. It also lets me start filling, and I can cast that for flashback later if I need to. And I get a swamp, so no damage. Pretty good, pretty good. So I pick up a Tundra. Unfortunately, that was the land I was going to fetch with this Flooded Strand, but that's alright. So I Tithe. Or Tithe Trick. I think I pick up, I pick up Underground Sea. And then I put Basic Island into play, I remember. So I fetch out Basic here because I want to make sure that I'm immune to a Blood Moon effect. The only thing that I'm missing now is white, and I anticipate the next time I use Wayfarer, I'm going to get a white Basic. So that way he can't, because I have this swamp, he can't Blood Moon me. And having Disenchant is enough to do it. So I'm going to Thoughtseize and see what we're working with. Revealed section. There we go. So we got Damnation, inconsequential. Intuition, possibly good. Limdol's Vault, maybe. Memory Lapse, alright. No to play around that. Rhystic Study, can't cast yet. Siren Sanity, totally dead unless he gets Reanimation. And Tainted Pact. And I make a decision here, and I decide that Tainted Pact is the card that I'm going to remove. Oh no, not Tainted Pact. Tainted Pact, even though it's a tutor, is the card I'm going to let him keep. I'm going to remove Limdrel's Vault because it's technically a tutor for maybe about 3 cards. If he wants to tutor in his upkeep for 3 lands, like if he finds any stack with 3 lands, he's able to do so. So I want to keep that from happening. So I decided to take Limdrel's Vault here because not only is it a tutor, it's also something that could find him multiple good things. Don't need this Underground Sea or Command Tower revealed. Use those with the Wayfarers. Tainted Pact. In his main step. Alright. And he takes the first card he exiles. Dak Faden. Which is... Actually, I don't know. You may put that card in your hand unless it has the same name. Maybe he selected no. Maybe he misplayed that. Is this... Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he puts Dak into his hand. I think that might just be a bug. So he gets Polluted Delta down, so we knew that was his draw for the turn, because he missed the land last turn. Search reveals Bitter Blossom. I do want BB, so I'm going to leave that on top. Take 2 off that. That's alright, Laura gained me. So collectively so far, I've taken 11 damage off of Dark Tutelage since turn 4. And I'm still at 29 life. This is the power of Allura. So I'm going to tithe up, or wafer up my Dimir Aqueduct. And I decide that since he's going with this like non-basic line, and he tutored for this Fetid Pools, it makes me think he might not actually have Blood Moon in his deck. And Dimir Aqueduct lets me continue to use Wayfarer despite him missing land drops. I pick up Negate for my draw for turn, and I play out the Tundra. And I play out the Tundra specifically so that way I have white mana for Disenchant up. Because I'm sort of using this Aqueduct line, as long as I have white mana up, I'm not going to be mooned. Steam Vents. I discard a Swamp, and after a long consideration, I discard Fact or Fiction. Excuse me. So Fact or Fiction's card advantage. What's also card advantage is Search for Azcanta, Dark Tutelage, Palace Jailer, and Jace the Mind Sculptor. I don't need more. These are raw power card advantage, while this is selection. But this is a one-shot. All of these are permanent effects, so I'd rather keep all of them. Disenchant's minus for Moon, Bitter Blossom's way to close the game, Negates counter magic. Straightforward enough. And Swamp's strictly worse than these. Because now I'm safe from Blood Moon. He does nothing. Alright. Mana Confluence. I'll, of course, put it in grave. I don't need more lands. Misty Rainforest. Thanks, deck. So I write down to 0. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, that counts, right? Torp Orb. Very good, but I need to make sure I put Palace Jailer down before I play Torp Orb out. Okay, let's get a BV down. He's going to try to fight over it. I knew about the Memory Lapse. And this makes me think that he wanted me to tap out on my turn so that way he can resolve Rhystic Study. Knowing that he most likely wants to resolve Rhystic Study, I decide I'm going to let myself get tapped out here for the negate. So I get it down, bounce land up the island, yep, and beat face. The 1/1 beats for days. So this tells me Rhystic Study, and sure enough, he puts it down. I have a wonderful answer in the form of Disenchant. So I take some damage, I reveal Azorius Signet. I do want that, because that's a guaranteed way to not lose to Moon, because then I have blue, blue, black, white off of Signets. So that answers my problem of Blood Moon if he goes like untapped Blood Moon after I have dealt with the Rhystic Study. Dust Bowl. Perfect. This would be the land that I think maybe I should have tutored for sooner, but I'm at the point that I think it's time to start Dust Bowling. I get to flip Azcanta without having to throw anything away, because I used that negate on my last turn to resolve the BB. So I went up 1 mana, and now I get to go up another mana this turn. And I decide I'm going to disenchant first. And I think I play Signate. No, do I play? Yeah, I play Jace here. So I Jace, leave Into the Void on top of his deck, because if I can Jace him and then Dust Bowl him out of the game, he'll never be able to come back. Now that Tainted Pact and Rhystic Study are gone, his only way to un-Jace himself is Intuition. I know for a fact he's not going to have a land next turn, so therefore, and he missed a land last turn, so therefore, if he does not Intuition for 3 lands, after I Jace Fate Seal him, he's going to lose the game. What I can do, though, is Dust Bowl him, make him spend the mana, then Jace Fate Seal him. We'll go Beats again. Dreadbore. Whew. What a timely spell. Destroy creature, planeswalker. Goodbye, Jace. Hardly knew you. I think the Fate Seal was worth it, though. Like, it was a 4 mana Time Walk that made my opponent discard a card. That's fine with me. So I'll take some more damage. So I lost 2 to the Signet. And I lost 0 to that. And I've revealed 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My count's correct. I play the Misty. And that was definitely a mistake. I should have just started Dust Bowling right here, I think. Now that I have Counterspell, though, I'm playing a little bit loose. And I think I want to get more card advantage going first. And I can't put this Torpor Orb down before I put Palace Jailer in. And I realize I have just enough to be able to leave up 3 mana. So that's Counterspell plus pay for a Force Spike. And I get to start drawing cards. Monarch is insane in this set. So he goes to Impulse. I consider countering it, but I figure he's looking for land here. And because I have Dust Bowl now, I don't mind him looking for land. But unfortunately for him, I don't think he finds any. Yeah, he must not have put Dak in his hand. That's so weird. I pick up Tithe. Alright, so that at least will shuffle my library if I need to be. I lost 1 to the Tithe. Dust Bowl. I have Fabricate Counterspell, so Fabricate will be able to get me Crucible of Worlds and guarantee that I will have land drops for the rest of the game. And then I can Mystical Teachings the following turn and start clearing the lands out of my hand, I think. But we're going to go Beats, and the opponent scoops. So I lost 3 life to Bitter Blossom over the course of the game. So with the life not lost to Bitter Blossom, but I still counting fetches. Like if I didn't play BB, I think I still would have won this game. My total life lost to Dark Tutelage was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 life. The game lasted 14 turns, so that's the same equivalency as Dark Confidant, 1 a turn. Or no, sorry, Phyrexian Arena, 1 a turn. This is easier to cast, and there's the caveat that I gained 2 life per turn because Allura is sitting in my command zone. Allura lets me play these shocks and fetches and pain lands and where's the exile? Exile pile. Darkar Wastes and Underground River. It lets me play all of these painful effects that are meant to be balanced by the fact that they deal damage to you without actually having to deal with the consequences of them being balanced. Gaining 2 life a turn, but then paying 1 into Bitter Blossom, so gain 1 life, make a 1/1 fairy every turn. That sounds really, really good. And this game could have gone just as well if I had turned 2 Bitter Blossom against him. Like if he had played tap land, I untap turn 2 Bitter Blossom. He tries to do something turn 3 or turn 2, and I get to like get in him on turn 4. Bitter Blossom will just end that game because in a 20 life format, Bitter Blossom takes 7 turns to win the game because you attack for on the turn 1. On turn 0, you get none. On turn 1, you get none. Then you attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 and 10, 13, 14, 15. So on the 7th turn, on the 7th turn after Bitter Blossom has been in play, you win the game off 20 life. it is 8 turns for this format, because it's only a 30 life format. So for 1 turn more, if you get Bitter Blossom on turn 2, you will win the game on turn 10 if they've fetched or shocked once. If they've taken any damage from anything else, basically. The card is absolutely insane in the control mirror, but I think the real rockstar of this is Dark Tutelage and is pairing with Allura or Ageless Ascetic. Knowing that I can just take this damage and not even care is so incredibly backbreaking, because the other decks can't do what this deck does, and that's what's really cool about it. I'll pull the deck list up so you guys can see. Let's see. So unfortunately, there's a bug on MTGO with a lovely blue enchantment that costs 4 mana. Zur's Weirding. Players play with their hands revealed. If a player would draw a card, they reveal it instead, then any other player may pay 2 life. If a player does, put that card in its owner's graveyards, otherwise that player draws a card. So what Zur's Weirding does in the Allura deck is instead of gaining 2 life a turn, you are paying 2 life to keep your opponent from drawing a card every turn. This is basically another Armageddon. So in a situation where you are slightly ahead, you slam Zur's Weirding just like you would slam Armageddon or Ravages. And it's a 1 in blue, or it's in the color of blue instead of white, but it cements your ahead position, especially if you have pressure on board and they don't have pressure, because you will always be able to pay 2 life for Zur's Weirding. You're gaining 2 life a turn, so all of your other cards like Dark Tutelage become fair, but they cannot afford to continue to pay life into Zur's Weirding to keep you from drawing, and that's the real strength of it. You can deny every draw, they cannot deny every draw. You have tons of effects that draw you cards. If you have the Monarch, if you only have Palace Jailer in play, if you go Palace Jailer, Zur's Weirding, and they're tapped out against a spell that you forced or something, like they tapped out for Kess and you then forced Kess and that stuck, and then you slam Zur's Weirding, and you have Monarch, they immediately have to start paying 2 life to keep you from getting an advantage. But you stop every single one of their draws for the rest of the game. The drawback is Zur's Weirding is currently bugged on MTGO. The hands get revealed, which is actually very good information. You don't care if your opponent knows your hand most of the time in this deck. If it's equal information, I think you're actually favored, because you get to know what to play around. You are the slow glacial control deck that will win the game with perfect information. So maybe it's worth trying to play a telepathy, but I was hoping Zur's Weirding worked. What it doesn't let you do is there's no prompt of, would you like to pay 2 life to put this card into the graveyard? It doesn't put it in a revealed section like you saw what happening with Search for Azcanta, where there's like a little box off to the side, like over here, and shows you, oh, Skeletal Scrying's on top of your deck. Your opponent's about to draw Tezzeret the Seeker. Would you like to stop them from doing this? It just automatically adds it to their hand, and that is an issue, because Zur's Weirding is actually one of the best cards in 1v1 Allura for paper, because that's traditional ban list, we'll say, or US ban list. I think it's traditional is the best way to say it. But in the 1v1 list for paper Allura, Zur's Weirding is just like Armageddon Ravages. If your opponent is not ready for it and is not ahead on board, they can basically lose the game on the back of it. It's so back-breaking. And like, if you have like a Skeletal Scrying in your hand, you pay 4 life to try to draw 4 cards. Your opponent has to pay 8 life to stop you from drawing 4 cards. It's a very cool card. It's a very cool card to use. There's different situations, whereas like your opponent has 5 mana and a full grip, that you might not want to slam it down because their full grip might be better than your full grip. But most of the time, it functions as a third Armageddon Ravages, at least in paper. Here, it's just a very expensive telepathy, unfortunately. So that got cut, and we threw Notion Thief back in because it's another blue thing that prevents your opponent from drawing extra cards. I really wish I didn't have to have Notion Thief. It's possible I should add Time Twister back in the deck if I have Notion Thief, but I think for the time being, Notion Thief alone is fine. Because you just Notion Thief like a Jace or a Brainstorm, and you just win the game on the back of that. There's no way. There's no coming back from like a Brainstorm effect getting Notion Thiefed. Other than that, this is the deck. So 35 lands. We'll scroll down to the bottom. full fetch, that all drawn. Only the Ancestral for the 0. We're playing Trinket Mage, but we're only playing 4 targets in Citadel, Map, Cage, and Needle. So Cage is a silver bullet. Map is sort of a silver bullet in the fact that you put Map down and you have an uncounterable way to gain card advantage on your opponent. And Needle's another silver bullet. Darksteel Citadel, it's there for those situations where, like, you don't have your 4th mana or you don't have your 5th mana and you put Trinket down. It at least gives you a way to find a mana source. That does survive in Armageddon Ravages, which is also nice. Land Tax Tithe, that thing, yeah, we are playing Scroll Rack for the tax rack, and we're playing 3 islands, 1 plains, 1 swamp. So we have 5 basics that we can tax out. Tithe, Wayfarer, Spell Pierce, playing low in the low end of counter magic. Just the Pierce. Pierce is good enough. Disenchant, we have lots of removal and counter magic moving up the suite. So, and then we have actually multiple tutors in this deck. So we have Limdol's Vault, which I feel is wildly underplayed in blue-black. It's very good. We have sort of Scroll Rack because Scroll Rack will let you look at 14 cards over 2 turns. Trinket Mage, find answers. Then we have Grim Tutor, which is black 1, lose 3 DT. So it's, I think Grim Tutor is the fairest but still good demonic tutor. I wish it wasn't so expensive in paper. I think it would see play in some decks, but not all decks. It'd be like right on the borderline of like fair to broken if it was more affordable in paper. It's the right. We're also playing Phyrexian Arena and Underworld Connections. Lots of draw effects. So any of those effects with Zera's Weirding are fantastic. I pay 1 life for my Underworld Connections. Would you like to pay 2? I lost 1 from Arena. Would you like to pay 2? It's just breaking this parity that Allura, or help the parity that Allura breaks is breaking it further. You're leaning on the stressed joint, so to speak. So we're playing Anguished and Vindicate, Coalition Relic, Crucible, Shackles. We were playing the Treasure Mage, and it turns out we don't really need Treasure Mage in this deck. It'd be nice to be able to squeeze it in. Like, I think if there was a 100th card, Treasure Mage might make the cut. But it's plausible that we would probably want maybe it's like one more thing in this slot that's more robust than these 3 to be able to tutor with it as well. Armageddon Ravages, obviously, Palace Jailer. It's another thing that draws a card that breaks parity with Zera's Weirding, breaks parity with Loro. That's very good if you Armageddon Ravages that you have, or you have the Abyss going and they get and keep creatures in play. It's very good. We're playing Damnation in addition to the Toxic Deluge. Possibly the 101st card would be Supreme Verdict. The only reason that I look at Damnation instead of Supreme Verdict is Verdict is white, blue, so it's a triple color requirement on turn 4. Damnation is, sure, it's a double black color requirement, but we're already planning on double black on turn 3 for Arena, Grim Tutor, Underworld Connections. So double black is way easier than double white, which is why the only double whites we have are Palace Jailer, and way up the top end is Elspeth's Summon's Champion. So we have Kaya, closes the game on her own. Notion Thief, if you get a good timing on it, you just auto-win. Bribery, against some opponents like Mono Blue or Mono Green, if you successfully bribery them, they basically will lose the game. Force, obviously, Tameo. So we're playing a little bit more Walker heavy on the top end. So Tameo helps us keep things like the Monarch. It draws us cards. And if we get this emblem, we do sort of auto-win. Like if we get this emblem, our next tutor is going to get Swords to Plowshares into our hand. And then we have infinite Swords to Plowshares. Sounds good. Or our next tutor is going to go and get Thoughtseize or Inquisition. We have infinite Inquisitions. It's so, Tameo's emblem cannot be understated how powerful it is. Elspeth's Sun's Champion, it was a decision over Karn. So the reason we're not Karn is because we don't, like, even though we're playing Talisman, Signet, all the blue ones, we don't really need Karn. Karn is too often single removal and he dies. So something that's single removal and dies isn't the best. Not always, but sometimes it's single removal and dies. Elspeth's Sun's Champion in a board that is parity, which is basically what this deck is designed to. We're designed to put the game state to parity and then use a Loro or use one of our recurring draw abilities to break said parity. Elspeth's Sun's Champion breaks that parity without drawing. So let's count up the ways that we break parity. Weather Brayfarer, land tax, expedition map into the throne, so expedition map counts. We have Jace, we have Search, we have Bitter Blossom, we have Scroll Rack, we have Dark Tutelage. We'll move Vision over there for now. And these are recurring ways to break parity. So we have Painful Truths is a very good way, but not permanent. We have Phyrexian Arena. We have Underworld Connections. We have Crucible of Worlds. We have Palace Jailer. We have Jace. We have the Abyss. We're not drawing a card, but we are mostly immune to it because our creature count is so incredibly low. We're not even playing Snapcaster, I think. Yeah, we're not. We have Kaya. We have Notion Thief, if they tried to break parity with us. We have Timeo. We have Tezzeret. We have Elspeth. And then we have huge bombs draws in the form of Painful Truths, Skeletal Scrying, Factor Fiction. Like, is this enough ways to be able to close out a game? Like, my God, I would hate to play against something where 1/5 of our entire deck is all ways to break parity with what our opponent is doing. So the rest of our deck is designed to put the board state to parity, or bring them back to parity, and then this 1/5 of the deck breaks that parity. I can just do that. What was I thinking? It's a wonderful way. Grafdigger's Cage, sort of, depending on the matchup. Needle, sort of, depending on the matchup. It's more so. Needle's definitely still. Oh, Bitter Blossom. Sorry, just over a 5th, because remember there's 99, 20 would be the 5th of 100, so be 1, or, yeah, slightly over a 5th. This goes here. It's an absolutely incredible amount of ways to take over with card advantage on your opponent. And my God, it works very, very well. Any game that goes long, I feel incredibly favored in. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the like pseudo deck tech. Oh, Dust Bowl breaks parity. If I have like Tax going, Dust Bowl's fantastic. If I have Crucible going, Dust Bowl's even better. Flagstones in the Gaiden world, like, there's so many different things. Wasteland, Crucible, like, but Tezzeret will search out. The reason Tezzeret's here is because it searches out Crucible, or it searches out map, or it searches out both Crucible and map, and that's a key way to do it. But I like getting Crucible first, and then moving up, usually untapping these, and then I'll go get the map if the board is still parity. If the board is still unclogged. Then we have a bunch of mass removal in that, this. It's a tap down. It's not really removal. But like 4 seems to be good enough, especially with the ability to Grim Tutor into one of them, so I sort of have 5, and 5 seems to be fine. I have enough ways to get there. It actually plays a little bit light on counters. Like, As Foretold's insane because we have Ravage's Armageddon. We have Teachings, which is 2 cards by itself. True Name is actually one of the non-bows with the Abyss, because Abyss doesn't protect True Name from itself, or True Name isn't protected from the Abyss. But True Name by itself will be able to pressure any walker in the game, and it's too good to not have. And it was actually a carryover from when we had Stoneforge Mystic still in this list, and then cutting the Stoneforge package let us add way more robustness. I'd rather have most of this package than Stoneforge into Sword or into Batterskull. even if I can put that Battle Skull on a True Nemesis, I feel that this setup is still better positioned than that line. Because it's reliant on a white 2-drop creature to come down, live a turn, put an equipment into play. Every deck is designed to deal with artifacts of some manner, so I can't rely on the equipment sticking around too long unless I have a good hand to back up with it. I'd rather just continue to draw cards by itself. Notably, Kaya is one of the best ways to do that because I draw a card and my opponent discards a card. Definitely hope you enjoyed the deck. Definitely hope you enjoyed the gameplay. I thought it was a great example of why Allura is so incredibly good and why he was banned in French 1v1 Commander, or Dual Commander, as people call it. And I'll see you on the next one. It was great to record again. All right, bye, guys.